Virtual systems ready.
And now, it's time to take another leap back in time to talk about Yu-Gi-Oh! Your move, your move. Yu-Gi-Oh! Alright, let's talk about Yu-Gi-Oh! The Dark Side of Dimensions. The first theatrical Yu-Gi-Oh! Movie in a couple years. It's since Bonds Before Time, or Beyond Time.
Was Bonds Beyond Time in theaters?
It was in theaters.
I do not remember this.
Yeah, 4K Media and Konami put it in theaters back in the day. I remember. We just didn't get to go see it. But what we did get to go see was the original Yu-Gi-Oh! Movie, Pyramid of Light, which we did actually see way back in the day.
Oh god, Pyramid of Light.
Yeah. Pyramid of Light. I enjoyed it when I was 10, but now that I am an adult, it doesn't hold up. Yeah. Really doesn't hold up. It didn't hold up even 2 years after I first saw it in the theaters. Because I tried watching it again on VHS or whatever, and I could not finish the darn thing. It was, no.
Yeah. I mean, one thing I didn't know about it for the longest time is that Pyramid of Light, it was actually written and produced by 4Kids themselves.
I think that explains why it was so bad.
Yeah. Because regardless of how you feel about Yu-Gi-Oh! Stuff outside of the manga, like, it's at least passable at its worst. But this movie, Pyramid of Light, I just can't even watch it anymore.
Yeah, Pyramid of Light is best forgotten and never talked about again. But thankfully...
That one Kaiba song was really good, though.
Yeah, don't say if I were you, or tell me what you do, if you were in my shoes, because you're not me.
Yeah, that one.
That's a classic. Yeah, I mean, thankfully, this movie was not written by 4K Media. It was written by Takahashi himself, and as a consequence, I think it was pretty darn good. Like, it was a much more coherent and meaningful story, and a lot more fun. I think, just, again, let's begin at our theater experiences. Once again, I saw this at Village Cinema, and the theater was packed. Like with Sailor Moon, there were kids there, there were 20-somethings there. Like, you got both a nostalgia crowd and then a new crowd of kids who are just into Yu-Gi-Oh! Which was, again, really nice to see. The movie started on time. We got Marvel trailers before it, which I guess that's just a theater by theater thing. We also got a commercial for Yu-Gi-Oh! Duel Links, the game, so that was another thing. Yeah, the theater experience, again, I think was a little more annoyed by this audience just because some of them would yell things and talk over the movie, which got on my nerves a bit. But at some points, it would also lead to unintentionally hilarious moments. Like when the duel between Yugi and Kaiba suddenly, cut short when Aigami returns. Like, one guy in the crowd was going, "That nigga just rage quit!" And it was like, everyone in the theater started laughing. And at the end of the movie, when Kaiba... Oh boy, I want to build up to that. But, at the end of the movie, when, Kaiba is doing his final, crazy what the fuck stunt, that same guy was, going, what is wrong with this dude? So, there was some fun reactions to the movie. I was kinda annoyed that at points, people were treating it like this was some Rocky Horror Picture Show, but at the same time, I just enjoy having an audience that gets so worked up and has so much fun in the movie. There was plenty of laughter, plenty of applauding. There was some, great fan reaction. It was a very involved crowd, and I enjoyed being a part of it. How about you?
Yeah, so, I saw this movie with actually the same friends that I saw the Sailor Moon R movie with.
I didn't ask you, did your friends enjoy the Sailor Moon R movie?
Yeah, they kind of did, even though, like, they weren't, like, super familiar with Sailor Moon itself. They enjoyed the movie. It probably helped that they had the recap film at the beginning, because they at least were a little bit well-versed in, like, who these characters are.
Yeah, so, I guess that recap thing also did its part to help tell new people, this is what up with this character, and this is what up with this character. So I guess it did work out in that regard. Just a little tiresome for someone who already knew everything. But about Yu-Gi-Oh!, how is your crowd?
Yeah, so I saw it at a theater down in Plymouth, Minnesota, and pretty much the theater itself was pretty packed. I guess maybe like 3/4 of the way full. It was like a wide range crowd. There were some children, a lot of adults, then some teenagers and stuff. But yeah, it was a diverse crowd. And the movie started on time, all that stuff. Overall, it was a pretty good experience. I'd say the only, like, annoying part was that in the row behind us, there was a baby and her mother. And near the end of the movie, the baby started, like, shaking this, like, big, like, shaker sound rattle constantly. And it just got really annoying because it was pretty loud.
Why would you take a baby to the... Like, was it like a baby or just a toddler?
It was like a literal infant.
Wow. Okay, I guess that mom just really liked Yu-Gi-Oh! So just wanted to indoctrinate her kids into the franchise early. Like from baby's first, you gave her a baby first Yu-Gi-Oh! Card, baby first Yu-Gi-Oh! Movie. Like, really raising up the next generation of duelists.
Yeah, but yeah, I mean, it's all fine and dandy bringing your kids to
a kid's movie.
Yeah, that's kind of obvious. Yeah. But don't give them, like, a very loud toy. That's just kind of bothersome.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, luckily those parts of the movies were pretty loud to begin with, so, like, usually the sound of the movie drowned out the baby. But, no, it was just a minor thing. It didn't really ruin my experience by any means.
That's good.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, forgot to mention, like, did you guys get the Yu-Gi-Oh! Card?
Yeah, I got a Yu-Gi-Oh! Card. I still haven't checked to see what it is.
Mine was Obelisk the Tormentor.
Oh my god, it's God cards? Okay, live. We're doing this live. I am going to unveil what the Yu-Gi-Oh! Card I got was. Alright, I'm opening up the card. You can hear the crackling of the wrapper. I also got Obelisk.
I think everyone got Obelisk.
You'd think they'd...
All my friends got Obelisk as well.
Okay. You'd think they'd give out one of those crazy new Blue Eyes forms that they unveiled in the movie.
Yeah, like, Kaiba got a lot of dragons after the Pharaoh left. Like, Jesus.
Yeah, like, Blue Eye... I can't even recount the names.
Blue Eye Saber Dragon, Blue Eye, like, Neo Dragon.
Like, just that crazy Blue Eyes which had, like, 5 wings all in a ring? What was up with that one? Like, it was insane.
Should we talk about the best part of the movie first? Seto Kaiba?
Yeah, that pretty obviously. Kaiba was the best part of the movie. Like, Kaiba was a scene stealer. Every moment he was in this movie was an absolute delight. Every piece of dialogue he said was a winner, each and every one. Just, oh my god, I just love this man. Kaiba, he is the thing that makes this movie as good as it is, I feel.
Honestly, I forgot how over the top and fabulous Kaiba is.
He is so good. Like, you feel like the abridged version of Kaiba is like a step away from he is. It's not.
It's literally Kaiba. Kaiba's literally like the ultimate, like, fabulous over the top character. He's like a JoJo character in the Yu-Gi-Oh! Universe. Which I guess is kind of fitting, because I do believe that Kazuki Takahashi did work under Araki at some point.
Yeah, going around riding his Blue Eyes jet plane, like dramatically leaping out of it, like building a space station and an AI to assemble the Millennium
I mean, literally, the
Puzzle.
opening scene is like, they're showing off all these galaxies, all zooming in on one point, and it's just zooming in on Kaiba's face inside this giant space tower.
Built a space tower to build a Millennium Puzzle in zero gravity to make it easier.
I love that one scene where Mokuma's like, but Seto, it took Yugi 8 years to solve the Millennium Puzzle, and then Kaiba's all like, that's because Yugi was a simpleton.
Kaiba's put-downs were great. Like, when one of his scientists were all kissing up to him, he was like, shut up, you simpering sycophants. And then he crushes his water bottle and throws it dramatically on the floor. And then he says, fire whoever designed that bottle. Kaiba core products shouldn't bend that easily.
Let's not forget about his obsession with the Pharaoh.
Oh my god.
He literally made a simulated version of the Pharaoh, and he mentions how hard it was to, like, emulate the Pharaoh's hair, and it took the longest part of the entire emulation to develop.
Just the way he just says it, too. Like,
yeah.
I can't remember, like, the exact quote, but, like, that got everyone laughing. Like, his rocking do, or, like, something. Like, it was...
I think it was like his ferocious, like, hairdo. Or something.
Yeah, it's just, oh my god.
Yeah.
Like, for this, I have to say, Konami, 4K Media, whoever was responsible for the script, just did a really good job, because I don't feel it strayed too far from the original, but at the same time, they were clear script adaptations, but they worked. Like, they were all enjoyable, and not like in a so bad it's good way, like in a legitimate way. Like, I legitimately found Kaiba funny, but I still found him a believable character. This still felt like Kaiba to me. It didn't feel like a parody of himself.
Yeah, I mean, it seems like this is very much how Takahashi would write Kaiba.
Yeah.
I'm sure they took a few liberties on the script, like 4K Media usually does. Now, ever since they've been under Konami, I feel like they're less, like, deviant from scripts completely, and that might be because they're probably working on lower budgets than they were when 4Kids. It still feels that it's staying true to the original version.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I also love this one scene when Kaiba's dueling Yugi, and he brings out, I think it was Apple Magician Girl, and Kaiba's all like, you dare mock me with fruit?
That was another, like, a crowd laughter moment. That was just amazing. Kaiba gets so insulted that Yugi would fight him with Apple Magician Girl. What? This is great. I really appreciate Kaiba's prominence in this movie for another reason, is that, like, Kaiba isn't in the final arc of the manga. So, you know, he doesn't get involved in the entire stuff with Millennium World. He doesn't really see Atem off. Like, the final pages of the manga show him, like, he arrived in the desert or something, but he didn't, like, see the duel between Yugi and Atem. He was just, like, standing in the desert, like, watching the temple or something, which is really weird, but, yeah. So...
I mean, if I remember in the anime, they kind of, like, shoved Kaiba into a few scenes in Millennium World to actually give him a role, but the manga, from what I remember, he's just kind of not there.
Yeah, he's not there. So, yeah, it makes sense that he couldn't get over the Pharaoh. He couldn't have, like, that moment of closure with him. So that's why he's so obsessed with him.
Like, even throughout the movie, like, even near the end, like, Yugi's driving home the point that the Pharaoh can't come back. He'll never be able to come back, and Kaiba's just in complete denial. He's like, no, you're lying to me. I need to fight him again.
Yeah, like, literally, when Yugi completes the puzzle in front of him, and, like, the Pharaoh doesn't return, and Yugi goes and explains, you know, the Pharaoh is gone. He moved on, and we just need to accept that. And, like, Kaiba's like, you lie! He's just afraid because he knows I'll beat him! And he's like, wow, dude, you're so deluded! But in the end, Kaiba was kind of right, because Atem did kind of come back just for a brief moment.
I'd say that whole thing was more of a residual of the puzzle itself. Kind of like how in the Millennium Ring, there's still kind of a dark power within it, even though Dark Merrick is technically dead.
Dark Bakura.
I mean, why did I say Dark Merrick? Dark Bakura.
Well, the Millennium Ring always had an evil power in it, like, even back in the ancient Egypt days, like...
Well, yeah, true.
After, like, it just grew after Bakura stole it from Mahado, and then a piece of Zork's soul was sealed within it later on, after the Pharaoh's battle with Zork. So, there's still some residual, like, part of Zork's soul, I guess, in the ring.
Which is probably why Diva, when he finally gets the ring, kind of resembles, like, a pseudo-Zork of sorts.
Well, he has a demonic form, for sure. Yeah. So, yeah. He doesn't have a dragon penis, but yeah.
Oh, yeah. Zork's dragon penis. We all love that.
Yeah, that was something. This movie was really interesting because it's basically, like, hammering the point home of, like, it's time to move on. Like, you can't, like, get caught up in the past. I feel that the ending of the movie sort of, like, hurts the message of the original manga just a bit because, Atem does come back, but thinking about it, I think that does make sense, like, just because the bond between them was so strong, like, and also it was like prophecy, like, that if the Pharaoh returned, like, the, what are they called, Plana, the Plana would, like, powers would disappear or whatever.
I mean, yeah, when the scene first, like, showed up, I was kind of, like, had mixed feelings about it, because at first I felt it was very much like a Deus Ex Machina of sorts.
Well, it kind of is.
Yeah, but, I mean, to be fair, like, it makes sense from the point of it's reacting to the power of the Millennium Ring, and it's the remaining power, I guess, essence of the Pharaoh that was within the puzzle. The fact that Yugi himself doesn't really interact with the Pharaoh himself within the puzzle kind of represents how it's very much the remnants of the Pharaoh and Yugi's bond with those remnants that are within the puzzle that awakened Atem temporarily.
Yeah, I think it's supposed to be left ambiguous, because you see, like, these weird, like, phasing moments where it looks like it's regular Yugi and, like, Atem, like, they're switching back and forth.
Mm-hmm.
But I feel like, that you can interpret it as either Atem really did return, or Yugi kind of was just believed in the heart of the cards and that just gave him the strength to save the day.
I mean, one thing I also really want to know about this movie that I really like is that you can really show that Yugi has grown as a duelist.
Oh, yeah.
Immensely. The fact that he can stand on both Diva and Seto Kaiba, which, with, like, not, like, complete ease, but with, like, a good strategy in mind. Like, if you watch the duels themselves, like, most of the winning moves that he was doing pretty much were set up right at the beginning of the duel.
Yeah.
Which, to be fair, like, I think Yugi's always, when Yugi's dueling himself, he always kind of has this, like, whole thing of where, usually in the beginning of the games, he does kind of terrible, but it's because he planned so much in the beginning to use later, in terms of, like, trap and spell cards.
Mm-hmm.
Which I've always found kind of interesting. Yeah, it's good to see Yugi is standing on his own, even in the absence of Atem.
Yeah, he's a very strategic duelist, which is always very appreciable. And I really do like how he traps Aigami in this perpetual attack loop, which ultimately causes him to self-destruct. And of course, it was really satisfying to see, like, he legitimately beat Kaiba. Like, that was pretty awesome. Regular Yugi legitimately beat Kaiba. That was really cool. Yeah, I enjoyed the duels in this movie. They were a lot of fun, and they were also a lot of strategy involved. Like, obviously, it's hard to figure out the rules, especially with this whole dimension summoning thing. But,
yeah, the dimension duels kind of confused me.
But a lot of but you can, especially with Yugi's duels, you can pick apart a lot of the strategies, and they do really work, and they feel really satisfying. Just like the final couple of duels in the manga itself, really, like Yugi's duel with Bakura. Like, there are a lot of callbacks to Yugi's duel with Bakura and his duel with, Atem at the end of the manga. Especially with the Kaiba fight, because he summons, like, that, blob creature at the beginning, just like he did in his fight with Atem. He also summons Gamora as well, which was how he defeated Bakura in his duel. So that got me very, I definitely got, like, just fanboyish appeal out of all that stuff, because, you know, it was really cool to see them make those callbacks and refer to those strategies.
Yeah. I mean, you could very much tell that Takahashi put a lot of, like, thought into writing this. It very much feels like a proper epilogue to the Yu-Gi-Oh! Manga proper, much more than any of the spin-offs that have been going on for the past, like, 10 years.
Yeah, it really is a nice epilogue. Like, they're graduating high school and they're moving on from the past. Like, even Bakura kind of gets to have some closure with what his dark side did.
Yeah.
Which was nice. And I enjoyed seeing the origins of, Dark Bakura. And I also appreciate...
This was the first time we ever saw him, like, how he got the Millennium Ring, I guess. Like, and how he killed, Shin.
I appreciated that, like, Shoddy was important in the movie, too, because he was always important in the series, but there were a lot of things left unexplained about him in the manga, and there's still a lot of things unexplained about him in the film, but I think you got a little more about what he was about and could piece together a little more, like his relationship with Atem and who he really was and stuff from the film. So I really appreciated that, you know, they tied like Aimaru's motivations to avenging Shoddy, and like kind of explaining like who Shoddy really was, and like, you know, he was a spirit all along, which is why he couldn't like physically accompany them to the Millennium World, but he was like the second personality of Obasa. So like when Zork awakened in Millennium World, like, that was what allowed him to re-manifest. So, it's like, a lot of complicated stuff, but, like, you can sort of work around, so that's why this happened before, which I appreciate.
Yeah, it's been so long since I've read Millennium World that a lot of that stuff's kind of fuzzy to me, aside from, like, a few parts in the middle and then the end.
Yeah.
Like, what this movie is really, like, hitting home to me is that I really have to go back and reread the entire manga now.
Yeah, that's what I want to do, too, honestly.
Yeah, because honestly, I probably enjoy it, like, way more now than I did when I initially read it.
Yeah, I reread Millennium World leading up to it, and that holds up so well. But I do really want to go and reread the entire manga from the beginning at some point, too. You know, it is a lot of fun, like, as ridiculous as the premise is, and as it can get with the duels.
Children's card games to the death.
There really is some good storytelling, though, and, you know, there is some great villains in particular with some interesting arcs. So, yeah, I think that is really interesting. Especially since the final arc of the manga, Millennium World, it's all about, like, Atem and Yugi coming to terms with Atem's death and the fact that he has to leave. And so this movie is continuing off that with Kaiba and Yugi just like finally having closure with Atem and like accepting the fact that he is gone now. Though a part of him will always live on in their memories and hearts. Like memories was a huge factor in this movie. And so it was like the memories of his friends that saved Joey in the end. And, you know, memories just... Basically, the memory of Atem also kind of helped Yugi out in the end because it gave him the inner strength to defeat Aigami. So there's a lot of cool thematic stuff that tied back into what was going on before. So I really appreciate that. There's a lot more going on to this movie than just like a simple like, we gotta duel this bad guy. There's like a lot more pathos, a lot more character development in this movie, which I really appreciate. Like, this is a worthwhile continuation of the franchise in the same manner as Battle of Gods and the Boruto movie. Like, it adds on to the franchise in a meaningful way and shows how these characters have grown and changed. And, like, that they are really moving forward to the next part in their lives. Like, at the end of the movie, Anzu Taya, like, she basically leaves the group. Like, she goes off to America. Like, so the group is separating. Like, they're going their own ways now. But they're all pursuing their own dreams. But, like, they all have that same bond of friendship keeping them together. So, it's really nice. Really cool, like, thematic ideas and character development that I think really is what makes this movie. Well, what makes this movie is Kaiba. But, like, what makes this a meaningful movie is, like, that there's actual, like, development. Like, it actually is continuing the story in a meaningful way.
Yeah. I really like how this kind of movie serves as, like, very much kind of a final closure to Yu-Gi-Oh! The original.
Yeah.
And I just find that so satisfying.
I think that this was a really fun movie. And, I got a little tired during the middle when Kaiba wasn't in it as much. Like, when it was just about Aigami and, like, him trolling Joey or whatever. But, like, the beginning and the end of the movie is just so strong. So I definitely thought it was just so worth it. And again, it's about more than what it appears to be. So that's another thing that I really appreciated as well. Like, it could have been so easy to make this just another, like, cash-in, like, cheap nostalgia movie, but this has pathos behind it.
Yeah, it's clear Takahashi put some real heart into the film. It very much is a homage to the work he put in and the stuff that fans loved about the manga and the anime.
Definitely.
Yeah, and honestly, it really makes me wish he would actually kind of go back to, like, making more, like, new series, like, outside of Yu-Gi-Oh! Because I know he released a one-shot in Jump back in 2013. So I wish he'd do, like, maybe release more, like, non-Yu-Gi-Oh! One-shots or kind of make a new series. I would love to see a new series from Takahashi. Because he, at the core, he knows how to make, like, games and all these different things so entertaining that very few other mangaka, I feel, can do.
Yeah, he's an interesting and underrated storyteller, so it would be interesting to see him make something other than Yu-Gi-Oh!
Maybe one day.
Maybe one day.
If the writer of I Shield 21 can come back, anything's possible.
Definitely. I guess I don't have any other complaints about the movie necessarily. Some of the CG, was a little off-putting, but it kind of works in this kind of movie just because of the nature of duel monsters and the fact that they're like holograms. Aigami was okay as a antagonist. Like, I wasn't admittedly too invested in him. Like, if he didn't have the shoddy connection at all, I probably wouldn't have cared as much.
Yeah, same.
But the shoddy connection and the fact that it was at the end, shoddy kind of saves him from himself because Atem summons basically shoddy to take him out. So I appreciated that. I guess a pet peeve is that they didn't explain why Kaiba has Obelisk again. Like, they never really explained why Kaiba has Obelisk again.
I'm assuming that he either made a new card that's pretty much Obelisk the Tormentor, or he somehow recreated the card from some remnants of the card. I don't know.
I mean, I was expecting him in the final duel to use Obelisk, Slifer, and Ra against Yugi because he had created all the god cards again. But I don't know.
Oh yeah, he only used like Obelisk in that one fight in the one duel with Diva, and then he didn't use it again.
Yeah.
It kind of seems like it just was a kind of a marketing tie-in.
Yeah, that felt like kind of a Deus Ex just because they didn't explain it and it didn't come back later on in the plot. But I like it was cool seeing Obelisk again. It was just like, okay, but how did this happen?
I'm assuming it's Kaiba Corp logic where they can pretty much do anything and they control the entire world.
Sure. I mean, maybe they explained it in another spin-off series or something. And I just don't know.
Are the other spin-off series even canon since Pegasus is alive in them?
I don't know. And I guess how do you interpret the ending? Because, like, did Kaiba travel back in time or to another dimension to face Yuki in Egypt? Like,
So so he used the remaining power in the plana and he channeled it into entering a dimension. So I'm assuming that he just went back and he used that to pretty much send him to where kind of Atem's spirit went when they in like Millennium World, which is kind of weird, but I guess it works.
yeah,
It's funny.
Okay, yeah, it is. It is funny because he just, like, as that guy in the crowd yelled, "Oh my God, what is wrong with this dude?" Like he really is obsessed with Atem and like dueling him again and showing that he's better than him. Like,
Yeah.
I appreciate his line. Like, he tells Yuki, "You had your bond with him, I had mine." Yeah.
I also love, like, right before he leaves for the other dimension, he's just like, "Oh yeah, Mokuba, you're in charge now."
It's like, so he's permanently stuck there.
I don't think he's permanently stuck there, because you see, like, the body that he has entering in the dimension is slowly decaying, so I think he'll only be there for a set amount of time before he gets sent back.
Every scene involving Kaiba is just so amazing. I did not realize how much I loved Kaiba until after watching this movie. Eric Stewart just did an amazing job again reprising the role. Like, all the actors did an amazing job reprising the role, but like, he was the MVP for sure, because every line was just spot on.
Yeah, I mean, personally I feel the dub of Yu-Gi-Oh! Is kind of hard to watch nowadays, but this actually sounded really good, and probably helps that the voice actors have had a lot more experience since the original Yu-Gi-Oh! Anime.
Definitely. Some of the side characters still sounded kind of cringe-worthy, but like the main characters all sounded pretty nice. And the script was, pretty okay too. Like, it was actually legitimately funny instead of unintentionally funny like the old duck was. So I appreciated that. And I also appreciated that they brought back some like classic like 4Kids songs as background track in the movie. Like, they play "I'm Back" at the beginning of the movie. When, like, we see Yugi for the first time, when Kaiba's going up into space, they're playing Duel Madness. Like, I really appreciated they brought back some of those instrumentals. I really wish that they had played "You're on Me" at some point. Like,
oh god.
Because that would have been amazing, too. Like, but, so, there's a lot of effort put into this movie, just both on the production side and, like, on the dubbing side. And I definitely really appreciated it. This was a great movie just in every aspect. Really fun. Like, maybe not a perfect movie because it does drag in the middle. There are some, like, things you could probably cut out, and there's some things that are unexplained and kind of feel Deus Exy, but, like, overall, this was definitely a really worthy conclusion to the Yu-Gi-Oh! To, like, the original Yu-Gi-Oh! Story. A really great epilogue that I found very meaningful and really enjoyable. Between the two, Yu-Gi-Oh! Dark Side of Dimensions and Sailor Moon R, which would you say you enjoyed more?
Probably Yu-Gi-Oh! Dark Side Dimensions.
Honestly, I think I'd have to go with Sailor Moon, just because I think pound for pound, minute by minute, I was enjoying that movie like beginning to end, whereas with Dark Side, again, I did feel it kind of dragged in the middle a bit. And I also had less, like, wondering, like, why did this happen? Why are they going to explain this? Moments. I had less of those in Sailor Moon than I did with Yu-Gi-Oh! So I think that's why I kind of preferred Sailor Moon just a little more. But both of them, but I think, like, in terms of what it adds to the story, I think Yu-Gi-Oh! Is probably the better movie if I was speaking, like, more objectively.
Yeah, I mean, the Sailor Moon R movie has, like, tighter pacing.
Yeah.
But I'd say in terms of, like, a thematic perspective and, I guess, overall kind of importance to its franchise, I feel Dark Side of Dimensions serves such a great kind of central role in bringing a greater closure to the manga.
I think that's about what we have to say for both Sailor Moon and Yu-Gi-Oh! Unless you have a little more to say. Anything else?
No, it's a great movie. really glad to have watched it.
Yeah.
And maybe Takahashi will do more Yu-Gi-Oh! Maybe he'll write or produce more Yu-Gi-Oh! Movies down the line, or maybe work on a new series or something. I want to see more from him.
Well, I kind of want this to stay it for, like, the original Yu-Gi-Oh! Characters, because this just felt like such a satisfying place to end things.
Not with, like, these characters per se, but with maybe something else. I don't know.
Maybe a prequel series with Kaiba would be great, but...
Yeah, I'd read that.
Yeah.
But really anything. I just want to see more stuff from him.
And yeah, that does it for this episode of Movie Mavericks. Episode 3, talking about Sailor Moon R, The Promise of the Rose, and Yu-Gi-Oh! The Dark Side of Dimensions. Hope you enjoyed it, everybody. Look forward to the next one, which will probably be out in a few weeks. Movie Mavericks basically comes out like every week. We don't put out Manga Mavericks, which at this point basically is working out to every other week, every 2 weeks or so. So you can follow it on its bi-weekly schedule on allcomic.com or iTunes, and as well as our YouTube, our Manga Mavericks YouTube. You can also catch episodes there, starting pretty soon. Would you like to say where the good people can find you, Wheelord?
Yes. So you can find me at VLordGTZ on Twitter. That is VLORDGTZ. Really the only place I'm really online nowadays. But yeah, if you want to talk about JoJo, Detective Conan, whatever, just hit me up. I'm always happy to talk about those.
As for me, you can find me as Lamramiyasha on My Anime List, Twitter, Kitsu, and Animation Revelation, as well as a whole bunch of other places. And you can find the show at Manga Mavericks, Manga-Mavericks at twitter.com. You can find it at magamavericks.tumblr.com. You can find us on YouTube. Just type in Manga Mavericks, and that's the name of the channel. We need 100 subscribers to get that channel name. We're about 20 subscribers right now. We still need 80 left. So make sure to like and subscribe our content on YouTube, as well as iTunes. Leave a review, leave a like, leave a rating, because that also helps the channel grow. And yeah, you can make sure to find our content on All Comic, iTunes, and YouTube. And yeah, that's about it. We'll see you in the next one. Bye, guys.
You're not me.